All right, everybody. In this part, we are going to take a look at this nice skeleton card, which has a nice loading effect. It's a simple box, which has a circle, which is maybe a profile photo, and two other elements, which the first one might be a title, and the second one might be the description. And you can see that it looks very, very nice as it's shimmering or let's say glowing. So we are going to create this card with this nice effect. So sit back and relax as we walk through what is happening here. But before starting, please consider liking this video to motivate me and also subscribe to the channel before you miss another new tutorial video. So let's start. We begin inside the body element, and what we are creating is a simple skeleton card layout that will later be styled to look like a loading placeholder. Inside the body, we have a single container that uses the class name skeleton card. Think of this as the overall card that will hold all of the pieces together. Within that container, we place three child elements. The first one uses the class card load, and this will represent the circular loading shape on the left side. Right after that, we have another element with the class card title, and this will act as a bar that looks like a loading title. Lastly, there is an element with the class card description. This will become a larger loading block that looks like the description area of the card. And that wraps up our HTML structure for now, and we don't need more elements to be added. Now let us move into the beginning of our CSS so we can understand how this layout starts to take shape. We begin by selecting the body element. Here, we are giving the entire page a dark background color using the value 0E0E. We then set the height to be 100 VH, which allows the body to stretch the full height of the browser window. To center our card nicely on the page, we use display set to flex, and then we apply justify content set to center and align items set to center. This combination places our skeleton card directly in the middle of the screen. Finally, we remove any default spacing by setting margin to 0. Next, we style the element with the class skeleton card. This is the container we talked about earlier. We give it a width of 190px and a height of 90px. The background is set to FFF, which gives it a white surface. To add a bit of depth, there is a box shadow with the value 01px, 25px, and the color FFFFF52. We also include some spacing inside the card by applying padding set to 12px, 10px. Now we turn our attention to the element with the class card load. This is the circular shape on the left side of the card. We begin by giving it a width of 70px and a height of 70px. We float it to the left so it sits on that side of the container. For the visual effect, we apply a linear gradient as the background. The gradient uses an angle of 120 degag and transitions through the colors E5, E5, E5 at 30%, then F0, F0, F0 at 38%, then F0 again at 40%, and back to E5, E5, E5 at 48%. To make this shape circular, we apply a border radius of 50%. Then we prepare the gradient for animation by setting background size to 200%, 100%, and background position to 100% 0. Finally, we apply an animation using the name load for a duration of 2s, and we set it to repeat infinitely. Next, we move to the class card title. This is the small loading bar on the right side of the card. Its width is set to 90px, and its height is set to 10px. We float it to the right so it aligns opposite the circular loader. We add a border radius of 5px to give soft edges. The background uses the same linear gradient pattern as before with the same color stops at 30%, 38%, 40%, and 48%. Just like the previous element, we set background size to 200%, 100%, and background position to 100% 0, and we give it the same animation load with a duration of 2s repeating infinitely. Now let us continue with the class card description. This element represents the larger loading block that appears under the title bar. We set its width to 90px and its height to 47px. Just like the title bar, it floats to the right. We add a border radius of 5px so that it keeps the same rounded style as the rest of the card. Its background is also a linear gradient set at 120 deg, moving through E5, E5 at 30%, then F0, F0, F0 at 38%, then F0, F0, F0 at 40%, and returning to E5, E5 at 48%. We add a margin top value of 10px to create space between this block and the title bar above it. The background size is set to 200%, 100%, and the background position begins at 100% 0. Just like the others, this element is animated using load with a duration of 2s and repeating infinitely. To finish things off, we look at the keyframes that power all of the loading animations. We define an animation named load. Inside these keyframes, we set only one rule at the 100% mark. Here, the background position is changed to negative 100% 0. What this does is move the gradient across the element from right to left. When this repeats over and over, it creates the smooth shimmering effect that makes each block look like it is actively loading. So that's it for today's tutorial videos, but I promise you that you will never learn it until you practice it many times or add it to any project you would like. So, see you in the next one. Have fun.